from the Post-Millennial. Marjorie Taylor Greene brings resolution to censure Ilhan Omar over treasonous statements. I do believe this story shows us the tensions between the political factions. I also believe it shows a lot of it's for show. I got to be honest. Censure for treason? Is that a joke?
Everything Republicans do is for show. None of it doesn't mean anything.
How many of them have introduced articles of impeachment against Biden?
Yes,
like,
right.
Democrats do the same thing, but I mean, like, dude, if you actually thought someone was...
Yeah, but they always had an impeachment trial. We've just like been like, I'm going to impeach you and I'm going to impeach you.
Yeah.
If Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I'd like to talk to her about this, but I'm going to say right now, if you genuinely think it's treasonous, I think the resolution would be for a criminal referral in the immediate and an expulsion from Congress.
I see your point.
Yeah, followed by criminal charges for which the penalty is, for treason is, but I think it's 10 years in prison or death.
Right.
That's a bold thing to claim
quite
someone
a scale,
is doing.
I will say.
Absolutely, yeah, it is. It's a wide range.
It's like, we're going to give you a written warning for treason.
But
Yeah, right,
the right
exactly.
is playing the same games as the left. Like they're taking important words and killing them, right? Like treason.
Oh, I know. That's why I keep getting mad when people say it's treason. I'm like, no, it's sedition.
Right.
And it's like, I understand there's an overlap, but Biden breaking the southern border, which is bringing in a bunch of random people from different countries, that's destroying the nation. That's seditious. That is destroying the fabric of the nation.
Right.
Treason would be like he met with an organized body that it would be. So it could be treason.
Right.
Like if Joe Biden goes to the cartels and says, we're going to give you everything you want. That's a traitor to this country.
Yes.
They have betrayed the country to our enemies.
Right.
There's an overlap though. I get it. But yeah.
But no, like Benedict Arnold was selling West Point to the British. You know, they caught the one guy and they hanged that guy. And Arnold got away and they put him in a nice grave in the bottom of a cathedral in Britain.
All I'm hearing is
Really?
like this Scooby-Doo, like, and I would have gotten away with it too.
Well, there's also Ben Franklin's son. You know, Ian brought this up. He was a loyalist, and he fled to, I believe he fled to London, where he was like, those people are nuts.
Yeah, yeah,
It's crazy.
it's wild. But Benedict got away with a lot of stuff, and you know, he was married to a loyalist, and he was a war vet he felt like he wasn't awarded enough from his time at battle, and so he just like, I'm going to sell West Point. And that didn't work out too well.
I live by my own rules. Goodbye.
Yeah. He turned West Point, like the biggest battle point of, you know, it was holding down the Hudson River, and he turned it into a literal pigsty. And then when George Washington came by, he was like, what happened here? Where's Benedict Arnold? Go get Benedict Arnold. And then his wife put on a whole display, fake crying, so they say, so Benedict could get down onto the HMS Vulture and take off.
Wow.
It's crazy.
And he escaped.
That's
treason.
Ladies. That is loyalty.
That's treason.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So right now you've got cartels, NGOs, human smugglers. And I think there is an argument to be made for treason, but I think it's too strong in that we're not at war with some stupid NGO. They're just committing crimes, right? You arrest the people who are doing it. Biden's just not doing that. So I'd say that's sedition. But again, more to the point, I actually, this is really funny. Actually, let me play this video for you. This is good. Oh, here we go.
Censuring Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota.
Okay, bravo. Bravo on that one.
Maybe that's why she wasn't sure what she was bringing up on charges. She's like, I just got this good line.
Yeah.
I got to get this to the floor quick.
I think there is a question, though, and it's a fair argument to be had. Everybody's really mad about Ilhan Omar saying, you know, my president and Somali and all that. And I mean, there's a lot of people who are like, we will fight for Israel. We will do whatever they need. You know, it is a holy land. I mean, there's been politicians who have said on par things.
I don't like any of them.
To be fair, I'm not sure that any of the politicians who have pledged support to Israel have outright said that they are Israelis who are serving Israel, but they have said like, we will give them whatever they want.
Haven't some of them worn like the flag or even uniforms?
Yeah,
Well,
I'm pretty sure there are people like they wore like American
flag,
flag in Israel.
Right.
And so, I mean, there's a question of like, hey man, I got to be honest, I'm not a fan of any of it.
Yeah.
Like I don't like the U.S. spending all its money on foreign countries and all this aid, right? And Israel gets a lot of it.
Yeah.
So everyone's mad at Ilhan Omar, but I'm kind of like, okay, I mean, fair point. What's your position on Israel? Because like, I think Israel has a right to defend itself, all that stuff. I think, you know, what Hamas did is bad. I think Hamas should be wiped out, all that stuff. I just don't like our politicians acting like this country is somehow deserving of everything we have to give it. I'm like, well, it's another country. They're entitled to their rights, their natural rights, their self-defense, all that good stuff. I think it's a beautiful country too. That That being said, there are a lot of people who are adamant on providing military support, massive amounts of money. And fine, if that's your argument, I'll listen. But why be mad at Ilhan Omar, who wants the same thing, but for a different country?
To me, I think that there's just a general attitude with her. There's this ongoing sort of rhetoric about a hatred of America and our values, and that things need to change, and that we're inherently racist and we're inherently white supremacist and things like that. So I think when someone like her shows an allegiance to where she comes from, it lands differently than I think somebody who actually has a love and respect for America, but also
wants to support.
Yeah.
Like I do recognize there's a big difference between saying something like Israel will get our military support, is an ally in the region, and being like, I'm Somali from Somalia and I love my president. And you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, and this country
Hold on,
sucks.
team. I feel like you don't remember where we are right now.
Yeah, like if someone in Congress said that, you know, Netanyahu was their boss or whatever, we'd take that. That's a step too far. Some people, I got to be honest though, there have been, I think might have been Lauren Boebert saying something like it was a holy land. I don't want to put words in people's mouths, but there have been members of Congress who have said like, this is the holy land, we'll defend it, and we're going to work with Israel to do so, and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, I've said this a couple times, but when JFK was president, everyone was like, well, he's Catholic, so his ultimate allegiance is to the Pope, and can we have that? And he had to give a public address.
Right.
He had to, you know, pre-X putting out the threads addressing things. He had to give a speech saying like, this is how my faith fits into my loyalty to America. Ultimately, I'm loyal to whatever. And so I think this question of who do you answer to ultimately is interesting, because we need our politicians to say, my priority is to the people who elected me, who are ultimately all American, although some of them live in different states and therefore have their own priorities. The idea that someone is like, well, my home country is Somalia, so I like it there better. Like,
Yeah.
And
no, thank you.
JFK had to come to West Virginia to earn those votes from people who were very skeptical of his Catholicism. And he did win West Virginia.
Yeah, he
and
did.
that speech that you're talking about is worth listening to.
No, it's really powerful, and
Yeah.
I think it's something that I wish more people would study.
Yeah.
Omar claims that the translations were slanted by propagandists.
Yeah. I've seen
That
reports
feels like a
on that.
spin, though.
I'm always worried about that when I'm seeing stuff on Twitter like going viral, and they're like, and it's got, you know,
That's
it's
why I don't
captioned.
retweet them.
Yeah. Yeah, because you don't know. You just don't know.
And now with deepfakes, dude.
Yeah.
When someone's talking into a mic and you can't really see their mouth, and this is all you know, people are, you're watching the camera, and you could AI deepfake anything.
I showed Tim the video of Joe Biden in front of a green screen with the boom mic going through his hand. Anything's fake. Remember that?
That was a weird video.
Anything is fake. Anything.
You guys
can be
remember that
faked.
one where Joe Biden walks up to the press corps or whatever, and he leans forward, and then all of a sudden one of the mics is like in front of his, or no, it's like under his hand,
Yeah, it kind of looks like it goes right through his hand. It's just very strange.
as if he was in front of a green screen.
I think he is in front of a green screen. a
But
lot.
he does film on a soundstage semi-regularly,
He does do that as
right?
well. He got
They
a
have
lot
like
of-
But there were
green
other
screen on
angles of
set.
this
Yeah,
that looked normal.
there were, but I think he's either a clone, sometimes a deep fake or AI.
No,
but that's just
no,
me.
no.
I don't want to derail the conversation.
No, Shane,
but it's true.
I gotta stop, dude. These unhinged conspiracies have no place in sane conversations. We're clearly in a simulation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Tim.
Dude, I gotta be
Something's up.
honest, like, I'm sitting here watching everything going on, and I'm like, yo, the world's crazy.
Well, I've been thinking about
Like,
this a lot.
why?
It's very
But how
crazy.
do we have that perspective? Like, is it because when we were growing up, things seemed more normal, but now everything's just nuts? Or are we just in some kind of simulation?
I was listening to one of your bits earlier about in the 90s when we were all younger and it seemed like a cheerier time. I think
Oh,
that's
that was
true.
great, wasn't it?
It was true, but there was more of a curtain between us and the degeneracy happening in DC and, you know, outward, all over the place. There's no more curtain anymore. So the
Well, it was,
degeneracy is everywhere.
It was the noble journalist who shielded us from the
yes.
harsh truths of
Yes.
DC.
To let all the warmongers do all their warring.
And you didn't have to know about
But
it.
what
I think we were a happier country, though.
We were happier.
several decades ago. I think
sure.
I agree. I think there was a level of a lot more stuff could get hidden, things get
Right.
swept under the rug. Like, I'm grateful for social media because it allows certain journalists
Yes.
who I do trust to bring things to light. On the other hand, the downside is the degeneracy that becomes trendy spreads much more
I'm
quickly.
hoping that degeneracy starts to wane soon. That's my psychotic optimism talking.
Well, there was an article in The Atlantic that I haven't finished reading, so no one quote me on it. But it was talking about how there's going to be a Christian revival in America.
It's already happening.
Which
Yeah.
I find fascinating.
Already happening.
Well, and younger generations tend to be more religious.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a poll out the other day, and I don't have the source, that said Gen Z males are more likely to view feminism as dangerous or bad. There is a shift occurring, but what will be the long-term effect? Because we've already had people raised in the culture
Yeah.
of fear and mistrust.
Well, yeah, feminism should be illegal. Women should have to wear those Handmaid's Tale things. That's right.
All right.
And
I
now
love
the
that
left
red
will put
cloak.
this-
I'm
Wasn't
gonna
Kavanaugh
love with
supposed
you.
to do that? What happened to Kavanaugh making that happen?
I'm not always until like
Why are you here, Hannah Claire?
He,
I ask myself
he
this
overturned
every
Roe v.
day.
Wade. They're going to agree with you.
That's right.
The thing is that we all have to agree that the cloak that they wear in Handmaid's Tale, the red one,
Yeah.
that's cool. That is stylish. I mean, being forced to
Clip
do
that,
things.
people.
I stand by that 100%. The head thing, I get maybe impractical for driving, but should women do? No, I'm just
the
kidding.
Of
last
course,
thing-
all of those women lined up to wear masks, by the way, and you can't
Oh,
take them off
yes.
their face. Like, don't take my mask away. The same Handmaid's
Yeah.
Tale.
But then they have those scenes in the show where they're like, "Do we have to wear these masks? Like, pick a side."
Thinking about all this though, and like how we're kind of becoming as a society numb to all these shocking events that keep happening. I was thinking about that crazy decapitation video that came out. The guy had a militia. Did you write about it?
Yeah,
Hannah Claire?
I did. The guy in
he claimed he was
Pennsylvania.
president of the country now, and he wanted Biden kidnapped. You know, like that's already receding from the news, and like there's no shelf life to shock anymore. Like I was
Which
thinking
is
about my
also
grandparents.
crazy because he's alive. Like he got taken into custody
Right.
alive, which normally you'd think they would film his appearance and there'd be other stuff. But I mean, part of it is I think that he is just so crazy that it's hard for even mainstream media to spin. I saw a couple like MAGA supporter does whatever, but
Right.
he ultimately declared himself president. So I don't know
But
if
even
he's super MAGA.
but even thinking about how people are the theories fracture after that video emerges. We can't even agree on that. Even though there's a video of him saying these things, there's people saying literally he could be MK Ultra, which is very possible. It could be AI. The head could have been a prop. You know, like we can't even agree on things in the video, which goes back to George Floyd. You know, anything on video, January 6th, all these things. So that's the stuff that's weird.
The break started with Trump. I mean,
yeah.
it's if
Very
Hillary
fine
had won
people.
in 2016,
Yeah, exactly.
we wouldn't be here. I mean, we would still think it was the same country from Obama and
Right.
everything changed after Trump, and that's when the break began.
Snowballed down, and then COVID happened.
Yeah, yeah.
Lockdowns.
Well, COVID wouldn't have happened if not for Trump.
Exactly.
I mean,
Will
I'm
say-
with you. on
My
that.
tinfoil
There you
hat.
go. There
Some
you go.
people thought the break started when Kanye stormed the stage at the VMAs and took Taylor's award. So
We'll save that for another podcast. That's good.
I think
Let's talk
I'll go
about
into
Taylor
that.
Swift.
For 2
everyone in the
hours.
chat fires me immediately.
There are many things that happened. The biggest impact, I believe, was probably the Great Recession. That shocked the entire system massively, which resulted in Occupy Wall Street, which resulted in an economic shift where what are young people able to do without these jobs that were lost? Go on the internet and start posting BS, creating all these digital news websites that make BS, creating a generation of people who don't want to lift heavy things. And the big shift was around this time, not necessarily the Great Recession, but it's around this time with the emergence of social media, we got the rise of intersectionalism and postmodernism. And it was because it made money. That's the simple version. Algorithms promoted things that generate rage.
Yeah.
If it makes you angry, it gets clicks more than any other emotion. And politics, injustice makes people angry. So the world is dominated by politics since then. The avatar for that anger, with more and more people seeing what was going on, more and more people being screwed over. We get screwed over in 2008, mostly the Gen X and boomers and older. And then you've got Barack Obama. And what does he do? He doesn't help you. There's more war. In the second term for Barack Obama, people were unsatisfied. Hillary Clinton is deeply disliked, was advocating for war, and Donald Trump represented a lot of the anger people were feeling, especially young people with the rise of postmodernism. And I know that's for a fact because I went to like 30 plus rallies in the 2015-16 election cycle. And I'd ask young people like, why are you here? And Janesville, Wisconsin was one memorable moment. A fight broke out. And this is it's so indicative of exactly what happened. You have, this one really grinds my gears.
Sorry, what rally was it?
Janesville, Wisconsin.
No, for whom?
For Trump.
Okay.
So I'm there and I see some young guys and I'm like, what are you guys doing here? Why do you support Trump? And they're like, the political correctness is getting out of control. They're like, we like Donald Trump because he speaks his mind and he's pushing back. A fight broke out. And you can find these videos. I believe it was Mike.com. I could be wrong. But there was a young progressive woman got pepper sprayed. What they did was they ran headlines across the board saying Trump supporter pepper sprays young woman. It's true, but she punched him. She punched him in the face. He sprayed her afterwards. I believe that's disproportionate. Getting punched in the face and all you do is spray someone with pepper spray. Wow, punch in the face is way worse. What did they do? The interaction was about 1 second. The girl punches the guy. He instantly sprays. So when these outlets, I believe it was Mike, shows this argument, there's a white flash and then he's spraying her with pepper spray. The white flash was when she punched him. They literally edited a split second as if it was here's the fight and here's where he did it, when in fact the whole thing was a few seconds, and they wanted to cut out that she hit him first.
Of course.
This exemplifies exactly where we've gone. These companies wanted to make money. We all saw that Ryan Long bit where he's like, I will sell different footage to MSNBC or to Fox depending on what happens. And he's like, if it's, when the protester is throwing bottles at the cops, I sell it to Fox. When the cops are attacking back, I sell it to MSNBC. That's the game. So when you get this, progressive woman punching a guy, no one's going to click on that. Nah, your audience wants to see the opposite. Trump's the bad guy. So they manipulate the media.
They did that so many times. Sorry to cut you off. I remember I was a Hillary supporter, voted for Hillary. Sorry. But I remember during that time in 2015 and 2016 before he got elected, and it was like we were constantly hearing these stories about Trump supporters throwing black people out there, and that's how. And they would show the footage of a bunch of Trump supporters throwing a black person out. What they forgot to mention was that the black person, in many instances, was a kind of a radical protester who oftentimes was getting violent with people. Yep. They cut all that out. And stupid people like me were like, oh my God, Trump supporters hate black people. They're throwing them out of rallies.
Why did that seem so believable to you at the time? Just because you were already in sort of like progressive circles, or what about it was because
I really did believe that. So you have to remember that I didn't realize how big MAGA was too. I don't think any of us really did yet. So the media was representing it as this fringe sect of the Republican Party that was small. Remember, he was supposed to lose in a landslide. He was supposed to get like 3% of the vote. So I thought MAGA was this radical sect of the Republican Party that was extremely racist and bigoted, that was reacting. It was a backlash against a black president, Barack Obama. These people it was a backlash against gay marriage rights that were coming to the forefront. And it seemed believable to me that these were radical white supremacist people that were being riled up by Trump. The media kept saying Trump, calls Mexicans rapists. He's advocating for a Muslim ban. He wants to repeal gay rights. That's what I thought the movement was about. So then they'd go out and find these moments that they could show me. See, they're throwing black people out. They don't even want black people at the rally. And I was like, wow, these people are terrible. Yep. And it did seem believable.
I think once the media apparatus can convince people of a caricature of someone rather than the real person, you can convince them to think anything about that person. And they did that so beautifully with Trump, because they present this cartoon figure on the news, deceptively edited, and then they'll tell you anything. And it was easily believable. I didn't care about Trump or Hillary at 2015 or 16. I didn't even vote. The first time I didn't vote was the 2016 election. I voted for Trump in 2020. But I was like noticing early on that they were doing to Trump what they were doing to certain artists that I liked growing up, whether it was rappers or people in the metal community. They were turning him into a caricature. And then people were going like, oh, it's a psychotic person, But then, you see the deceptively edited videos of good people on both sides, just one example. And then you're like, well, that illusion's shattering. And then once that shatters, you kind of like, there's like a domino effect of all these things they've been lying to me about everything.
Did you
I'm surprised we haven't.
Yeah. I voted for Obama.
I'm surprised we haven't seen more deepfakes already.
Or what?
More deepfakes.
They're holding on to those, I think. They're coming.
But there's a certain, I think, like hypnosis and brainwashing that like, do you remember growing up and being in grade school, and you would learn when you were really young, if you're in trouble, go find a police officer or find a fireman, and we were kind of taught that there's certain institutions that you trust that are just inherently trustworthy, right? And I thought that about the media. Like, right. I did not think the media lied. Right. I thought, if they say it on the news, it's more than likely true. Right. And when Trump started talking about fake news and all this stuff, I was like, wow, this dude is the devil. Funny. Like, he's got this fringe group of psychotic weirdos that are following him, and then he's telling them not to trust the news, not to trust whatever. Right. He was right about everything.
I was primed for the fake news because I was in 8th grade as a Marilyn Manson fan when Columbine happened. And so I see the news saying immediately Marilyn Manson is to blame for this, but I knew him as a fan, being like, that doesn't seem right. He just seems like an easy target because he looks a certain way.
I think that's an interesting question. Like, when did you stop trusting the media? When did you start to think the media could lie to you? Like, that's a very specific
For me, it was around 8th grade, but they still had under a spell.
And I think for everybody,
years.
it's different, right? Because if you know something is true, like you were a Marilyn Manson fan, when did you?
I was in Ferguson during the riots, and CNN, I think it was Don Lemon, I don't know. They said there was no tear gas. They were reporting that while I was standing in a field of tear gas. Right. And I'm just like, wow. So weird.
They love it. When I was in the courtroom with Carrie Lake, I'm watching them basically catch people on stand lying against Carrie Lake. And then the NBC guys next to me writing a whole new reality. And I'm watching him report on it outside. I'm like, we started a chant outside to mock this man because I'm like, this is ridiculous. He's totally lying. I'm not surprised at that point because that was only
But wasn't
a year
there that
ago.
video? I can't remember what the reporter said. Was this the mostly peaceful protest video? And like, there's a from the summer of 2020, and there's a
Yes.
building burning behind him, and you're sort of
Yes.
like, I don't know if you understand the words that you're saying.
Right. And people may remember too, in 2020, my organization Walkaway, we went to Dallas. We were doing rallies all over the country. A BLM protester came to our rally, charged the stage, got taken down by our security, and the police came and arrested the BLM protester. Then they came and arrested our security guard as well. So my team and I, they held our security guard for hours. So we went to the police station to find out what was going on. When we got there were like 30 BLM activists outside the police station holding a press conference. Everybody was there. ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, Telemundo. Everyone was outside. Yeah. When we showed up, this is on video. People have seen it. About 20 of these guys chased us for 5 blocks, screaming they were going to kill us, throwing stuff at us, taking our phones, smashing them on the ground. All of those media outlets followed us for 5 blocks. ABC filmed all 5 blocks. Most of the media outlets filmed the entire thing. That night on the news, they ran a story. They ran the press conference from BLM where BLM portrayed themselves as the victims of racial injustice at the Walkaway event, mentioned nothing about what happened, even though they filmed the entire thing.
What Chappelle talks about in his last special about when he's attacked on stage by the homeless person. And then there's basically hit pieces against Chappelle talking to the homeless person and making him the victim.
Yeah.
Dude had a knife.
And what you said a second ago about Marilyn Manson, I mean, that's why they were able to get away with what they got away with Jacob Chansley, the QAnon shaman.
Right.
Because he looked unusual. So they're like, perfect. He looks unusual. And the left who so loves to be like, diversity and let people be their own person and, not, everyone's unique, whatever. So you've got this guy wearing paint, whatever. They're like, he's a weirdo. Right. Get him, get the weirdo.
Right. Yeah. It made no after a summer of riots and fires. You know? And then this little thing on January 6th with a guy with the mask or the paint on, they will turn anyone into the villain.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.